All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Auburn Daily Show, episode 13 of the Auburn Daily Show. Lance Daw here with you. Follow me on Twitter at LanceDaw_. Really excited to be here with you guys on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in Auburn, Alabama. Hope everybody is doing okay. Got a couple interesting topics for the show today, and one that I was not planning on discussing actually for quite some time because I didn't know when it was going to come out. But today, ESPN's FPI is officially out, and I just got to say, I saw it. I saw it in the Locked On Auburn Discord, the top 15 or so, and I was like, there's no way. And so then I had to go and pull it up myself over on the actual website, and let me just go ahead and tell you, it is wild. It is absolutely wild. We're going to take a look at that today. Also going to talk about what we've seen out of Auburn. Auburn target Brock Glenn. He's a quarterback in the 2023 class, 3-star prospect. I took a look at some of his film because some of you yesterday were talking about how, you didn't necessarily know whether or not he was capable of making a jump to an SEC system and doing so comfortably. And one of you noted that he's playing at some private school in Memphis, and that the competition there isn't really difficult. So can you really evaluate where Glenn is at right now as a quarterback? Going to talk about what I've seen from his film in just a little while. Also going to break down Auburn's position groups after A-Day. Trey Lee, writer for AuburnDaily.com, graded each and every one of Auburn's position groups. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today as well. If you're not already, go ahead and follow us on our socials at Auburn Daily on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter at SI_Auburn. We are live streaming every single weekday starting at 4 on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. You want to go over to the Twitch, man? Hey, it's a dope place to be. What's going on, Underrated? Appreciate you being here. As always, going to be talking about the ESPN FPI that was released. And I said a moment ago, and I'll say it again, I first looked at it, and I couldn't help myself. I just started busting out laughing. Not necessarily just as like I'm getting antagonistic or just like making fun of ESPN. It just every single year that they come out with the FPI, there's just something new about it that just surprises me and just makes me laugh. We're going to go over it today. Auburn. We'll start right here. Auburn is ranked 10th in ESPN's FPI. It's their football power index. And I wish I could find, okay, here it is. Here's the official definition of ESPN's FPI for everybody out there watching that doesn't necessarily know what it is. The Football Power Index, FPI, is a measure of team strength that is meant to be the best prediction of a team's performance going forward for the rest of the season. The FPI represents how many points above or below average a team is. Projected results are based on 20,000 simulations, of the rest of the season using FPI results to date and the remaining schedule. Ratings and projections update daily. FPI data from seasons prior to 2019 may not be complete. So essentially what this new release of ESPN's FPI is doing is projecting which teams are going to be good and which teams are going to be bad and what they're going to do and how much better they are than the average team from a points perspective, I believe. Alabama sits at the top of the FPI. Then Ohio State is very closely behind them at number 2. Georgia at number 3, Clemson at number 4, Notre Dame at number 5. Don't know how much I would buy into that. And then the biggest shocker of the list so far is Texas at number 6. According to ESPN's FPI, Texas is going to go 9-3 this season, 9.4 projected wins. So they're almost projecting, they're getting closer to projecting 10 wins there. Gives Texas a 99.3% chance to get to 6 wins. That's the preseason FPI projection. It says ESPN thinks that there is a 99.3% chance that Texas gets to a bowl game. I think that Texas will probably get to a bowl game, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I don't think there's a 99% chance that they do. Why do I think that? Kansas. That's all I'm going to say today. Anyway, Michigan is at number 7. Oklahoma is at number 8. Pittsburgh is at number 9. They had a really good season last year, 11-3, I believe. Can't remember if they beat or lost to Michigan State in their bowl game. What's going on, Zach? Locked On Auburn podcast in here as well. Pittsburgh at number 9. They've got Keaton Slovis, USC transfer in at quarterback. And then at number 10, and actually tied at number 10 with LSU, is Auburn. And there's some interesting things about Auburn in this FPI rankings. First of all, you have to look at the projected win-loss total. So Auburn is currently, right now, preseason, according to ESPN's math, is essentially what they're saying. Auburn's the 10th best team, according to their power index. It's hilarious, though, because they have Auburn going a projected 7.4 and 2.6, or 4.6, excuse me. So essentially, like, well, Auburn, from a power rating standpoint, is the 10th best team in the country, but they're going 7-5. And I had two reactions to this. First of all, was to just literally sit there and laugh and say, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Like, and I literally tweeted out about it. I'm like, ESPN's tweaking again. Whatever they're smoking every single offseason. We talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. It's just like, we try not to dig too much into ESPN's FPI because it's always just like, whatever ESPN smokes in the offseason, I want some of it because it's absolutely phenomenal. But my initial reaction was that, just to laugh at it and be like, oh, there they go again with the FPI. Remember last season when Mississippi State was like projected to win like 10 games or something like that? Something stupid. And then they had to recalibrate it, and they were just like, oh, well, there was a mathematical error, and so they bumped Mississippi State down. It's like, nah, your system just looks dumb, and it does consistently. But there was another reaction that I had that I think might be more accurate. Who knows? But I think that the system must just really, really value 7-5 in the SEC. Maybe the case. Auburn's got a really difficult schedule this year. That may just be the case. Something else I think is really, really interesting is Auburn has the lowest chance to get to 6 wins, 91.9%. So ESPN's FPI thinks Auburn's going to a bowl game. Vegas does not. ESPN's FPI does. We'll see who reigns supreme at the end of the year. Also says that there's a 100% chance that Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson all go to a bowl game, which I think is fair, but it's just interesting because nothing's definitive in college football. But yeah, Auburn has the lowest chance to get to 6 wins out of the top 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You go all the way down to Florida at number 25. That's the next closest team in terms of percentage of a chance to get to a bowl game. And something else that I think is really entertaining is Auburn has a 0.5% chance to win their conference, and that is tied for worst out of the top 20, or the top 19, excuse me. So Auburn's sitting all the way up there in the FPI at number 10. Again, at number 10, the FPI thinks Auburn's an average 13.9 points. I believe that's how you read it after reading the definition. Auburn is an average 13.9 points better than the average team in college football. Yet they're still going 7-5, which would indicate to me, I'm like, that is a stupid, dumb schedule. Of course, we've talked about the schedule a million times here on the show about how easy the first 5 games could potentially be. I'm not saying they're going to, but it could potentially be, given the fact that they're all at home. But you look past that. I mean, you go on the road to Georgia, on the road to Ole Miss, on the road to Mississippi State. You've still got Texas A&M and Alabama to wrap that schedule up. And sandwiched in between there is Western Kentucky. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, if this was Western Kentucky from last season that Auburn's playing, that would be a problem. That would be a trap game all the way in between Texas A&M and Alabama. I would be scared. I might even get close to projecting that as a loss, depending on what Auburn looks like in November. But yeah, I just think that it's just so funny to me to see the way that ESPN's FPI every single year just comes at me with something else that's just really stupid. It's interesting how, Michigan, who made the playoff last season, it's always all the way down at number 7. Texas is above them. I still can't get past that. Also, just some other interesting notes about Auburn. Gives the Tigers a 2.5% chance to win their division, which I can already go ahead and tell you after looking at like the top 30. It's one of the lowest, if not the lowest, chance of doing so. all the way down to Mississippi State, who's like number 26. And then also Auburn's got a 0.5% chance to win their conference, a 0.8% chance to make the national title game, which doesn't make sense now that I'm looking at it. Why do you have a more likely chance to make the playoff or to make the national title game? Actually, yeah, Auburn's got a 2.7% chance to, so they've got basically a 2% better chance to make the playoff than they do to win the SEC. That's wild. Well, I guess that kind of makes sense in Auburn's case because the Tigers would have beaten A&M, they would have beaten Georgia, and they would have beaten Alabama potentially, and they could still lose in the conference title game and make the playoff. I guess that makes sense. Still weird to see. And Auburn's got a 0.2% chance to make the national or win the national title game. Excuse me. So while Auburn is ranked highly, they are at 10. They're not projected to do a whole lot based on the rest of ESPN's calculations. So again, one or two things. It's either that the schedule is incredibly difficult, which still I think is true, or ESPN smoking one, in which case I want some of it. All right, that's what I wanted to talk about with ESPN's FPI. If any of y'all got any thoughts on that, just let me know. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot we can really glean from preseason FPI. I feel like after reading the description off to you, it feels like that it works best whenever you get a few games into the season. Also, yeah. So FPI in the glossary, football power index that measures teams' true strength on a net point scale, expected point margin versus average opponent on a neutral field. So Auburn on a neutral field is 14 points better than the average team in college football. For a team, if we go 7-5 and that still rings true at the end of the year, which I doubt that a lot of this is going to be consistent at the end of the season with what it is currently, but that would be really impressive. That would be really impressive to go 7-5 and still be 14 points better than everybody else. All right, something else I wanted to get to that I thought would be kind of interesting to kind of go over. So Trey Lee, writer here at auburndaily.com, put out an article grading every single position group for the Auburn Tigers after A-Day. And I wanted to go through them here quickly with you guys just to see what your thoughts were. So let's start here with quarterback. And this is what Trey Lee says about the quarterbacks, and I agree with him. It's tough to grade this position without Zach Calzada playing and the quarterbacks not being live. The stats from A-Day were not atrocious, but they were nothing to write home about. I mean, two guys had 75% completion percentages, but also they didn't really impress. Like, you can sit here and rave about what Holden Garrett or Robbie Ashford did, right? You can sit there and be like, oh, well, they performed well. They look comfortable, yada, yada, yada. We talked about it even on just a couple shows ago. But at the end of the day, I think there's something else you have to put into perspective. With the performance that they put out on the field, would it have been good enough to have gotten Auburn in a position this season to win, 8 games? I think that's what a lot of people would be really pleased with. Would their performance be consistent with an 8-win season? And so I don't think that a lot of people would say yes, given the circumstance with Auburn's offensive line and everything else surrounding the quarterback. So I think that you don't necessarily come away from that question saying, oh, well, then Auburn is going to suck this year. There's a whole offseason for these guys to develop a little bit. And also, I think that at the same time, while their performance was not really, really impressive, it's A-Day. So just take it for what it is. We even talked about that after the recap episode. Talked about just you can't really put a lot of stock into it. But at the same time, there was no, like Trey said, essentially, there was nothing to write home about. And then he also said this at the end of the quarterback section. The A-Day game left us with more questions than answers at the most important position on the field, so the grade will suffer because of that. And he gave the grade a C, and I'm not mad at that. And the fact that Zach Calzada was not able to play, I can completely get behind that grade. All right, running backs. And this is what Trey said in his article. He said, you would think the average of freshman standout Jarquez Hunter would hurt this group, but it in fact did not. Sean Jackson had a really solid day for the Tigers. Statistically was not impressive, but Auburn's running backs didn't get a ton of touches. And then Tank Bigsby was throwing some passes, lined up as a receiver a couple different times, which was really interesting. I think that Auburn will definitely ride on him this season. And that's something that even Trey notes, is that Tank Bigsby, Auburn will go as far as Tank Bigsby carries them in 2022. Gave the grade of B+ for the running back room. I probably would have given them a B because they didn't do a ton to impress me, much like the quarterbacks. It wasn't like, oh, that's going to win us a game against Texas A&M in November type of caliber. I'm looking for something that stands out. I'm not looking for mid. I'm looking for something that stands out, because I'm going to be honest with you, averaging like 2.4 yards per carry is not great. It's just not. Even with 4 or 5 offensive linemen out, it's not great. But also, how much stock do you take into that? I think that's something you have to decide for yourself. But again, I'm not like crazy about the performance the offense had as a whole, to be honest with you. And the wide receivers got a C grade from Trey, and I agree with that. There were some drops. I don't think the overall product was absolutely terrible. I am interested to see what Jay Fair and Tavares Dawson do. Malcolm Johnson Jr., and I'm going to say it because I've said it a couple times on the show, the touchdown that they caught was not a touchdown. So great effort, but it just wasn't one. That should have been taken off the board. And there were a couple of good throws by TJ Finley that were not completed. And TJ Finley did not look phenomenal. So the couple of opportunities that he had, I feel like his receivers let him down. And I'll say this, though. While this group may be graded as a C right now, I think some of the guys that are going to be focal points of this receiving core are didn't really get a lot of touches or are not currently playing. And that would be Javaris Johnson and Shedrick Jackson. I think those two guys are going to be the headlines of this receiving core. So let's not freak out about the receiving room just yet. But they did drop some passes. Tight ends. Trey Lee gave this group an A grade. I like that. Auburn had several tight ends involved. So Luke Deal, Tyler Fromm, John Samuel Schenker, Brandon Frazier, Landon King, all 5 of those guys caught a pass. And this is something interesting that Trey said in his article. Said Auburn will look to the tight ends as a safety net for whoever the quarterback ends up being this season. With the receiver room being a bit thin on experience, the tight ends will be some of the top receiving threats on the team. Landon King has taken advantage of this, becoming a hybrid player for the Tigers because of his go up and get it ability. And I could not agree more. I think that Auburn's tight ends are going to be a safety blanket, especially if we're talking about easing these guys into this system at the beginning of the year. I think you're going to see Auburn throw to these guys a lot for the first 5 games of the season. Maybe not as much against LSU, but I definitely think you're going to get to see it in order to just kind of keep the offense going, to keep quarterbacks comfortable. Superior Thruster is in the chat. Says, I'm a stan here. What's going on, Superior? Appreciate you being here, man. Talking about Auburn's position groups after A-Day, giving the tight end room a grade of A. And this is something that Trey Lee notes about John Samuel Schenker, rocking the new number 25, said it on yesterday's show, I believe. I'll say it again here. I was pleased with the number change after getting to see it in person. Initially, I was not a huge fan of it. It was confusing to me, but after getting to see it, he looks like one of those classic Auburn H-backs slash tight ends. So I like it. Trey Lee gave the offensive line a C- grade. Not mad at that. I'm right there with him on that one. It was injured, and it also did not run block well. And quite frankly, I didn't think the pass blocking was phenomenal either. I think C- is fair. Defensive line, Trey Lee gave the D-line a grade of A. And I really am excited to see about Auburn's edge position. I think that Derek Hall, Eku Leota are going to be a lot of fun. I think Colby Woodham will line up at the outside a little bit. I think Auburn's pass rush is going to be better than it is last season. And then the nose tackle position, I think, is taken care of because you've got Marquise Burks there, right? But you also have 6'6", 320-pound, just mammoth of a human being, Jason Jones, transfer from Oregon there. I'm excited to see what he looks like in the middle of this defense. The pass rush in the defensive line, I expect it to be better than it was last year. Linebackers, Trey Lee had them graded as a B. Not mad at that. I want to see what this unit looks like with Owen Papo on the field. Currently not healthy. And then defensive backs, he gave a grade of B. We're going to have some guys step up in the secondary. Now, I am excited about some of the guys that could potentially do that, like DJ James, transfer from Oregon, Keontae Scott, JUCO prospect. You've got JD Rim there as well. Then Jalen Simpson, Nehemiah Pritchett. You've got a lot of different guys that you can work with, right? But I think that a lot of people are afraid of the secondary and what it could potentially become. And I'll say this: I'm just optimistic. I'm excited about it. Superior also says Derek Hall 15 sacks this year. You heard it here first. I don't remember how many he had last season. Didn't he have like 9? No, he had 7. I may be wrong. Let me pull it up here real quick. Last year, no, he did have 9 sacks. I don't think that's too far off. Not gonna lie to you, Superior. I think that's a hot take, but I like it. I do like that hot take. And then Trey did not grade the special teams unit, but I will say D for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't like wasting time with doing kickoffs that don't matter. I did not appreciate that during A-Day. If you're going to run it, why are you even attempting to do it if your kids can't learn anything from it and the fans are not interested in it, and it also wastes time on the clock? It's just a lose. But also, Auburn's field goal kicking unit did not look phenomenal. Of course, Anders Carlson and Alex McPherson currently not available, which they will be. So this unit's certainly not going to be a D at the end of the year. But Oscar Chapman was essentially the only redeeming factor of this group. All right, we've got 2 more things to get through here today. So Auburn offered a quarterback after they lost out on Christopher Vizina. Committed to Clemson, 4-star quarterback there. Auburn football offered a 3-star quarterback, Brock Glenn. You can read about this over at auburndaily.com. Zac Blackerby of the Locked On Auburn podcast. He wrote a little bit about Glenn. Auburn offered him a few days ago. And Mississippi State, Missouri, and Oklahoma State are also some other schools that are in the running for him. And I wanted to briefly note kind of what I saw out of him with some film that I watched. We're not going to dig too deep into it. This is not like a film room session today, but one of the first things that I noted is for a kid that's like 6'2", 195, he's got a really strong arm. At least it looks like. He's got a really, really strong arm. His school up in Memphis really liked him throwing the ball downfield. They really like to attack the seam. They really like to attack the outside, just anything downfield. And I think that his placement on deep throws was really good. And you would expect it out of the type of offense that it appears for that they run, but I was impressed. He's got a strong arm. He can throw it downfield. And one of the things that I also loved about him is that he was poised. He was comfortable. He was composed. Whenever the offensive line broke down, he didn't freak out and immediately roll to his right. If anything, he tried to step up in the pocket and make a better play. So overall, I really liked what I saw out of him. One of the things that I think will be an issue, and Superior noted this, he's got very good pocket presence, and I have that exact same thing written down here on my notes. But here's my question about Brock Glenn. I'm curious to see, because you look on some of his film, whenever he got pressure, he was able to avoid it relatively easy. He's got good footwork, and like Superior noted, he's got great pocket presence. How is he going to handle SEC edge rushers? Is he going to be able to get away from him as easily as he is currently at his private school? I'm not sure. All I know is that he's doing it very well at the high school level. I'm just curious to see, could he do the same thing against SEC caliber speed and SEC caliber athleticism? That'll be interesting to watch. And then also, how does he work against an SEC defense as a whole, right? He's not going to be able to take a bunch of downfield shots all the time. I don't think that's what Auburn's going to be doing. He's got to be a little bit more disciplined, I think. And he's going to have to fit balls into tighter windows in the SEC. Of course, you look at the couple of teams that are recruiting him right now, one of them being Mississippi State. Man, after seeing his skill set, if they can hone him in a little bit and get him to be a good decision maker, which he looks like he is in high school, if they can hone in on that, I think he'd be a really good fit for Mississippi State's system. I'm not going to lie. According to the article over at Auburn Daily, Missouri is currently leading the way, according to Rivals, with a 39% chance to get the quarterback. So there's a 39% chance, according to Rivals, that he commits to Missouri. But the fact that Auburn has now applied themselves to pursuing this kid after missing out on Christopher Vizina, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the road. I think Auburn could definitely get this kid's commitment. And I think he would be a little bit of a project just to get him comfortable with some SEC caliber athletes. But I think he could be. I think he's got potential, man. Superior also notes a quarterback competition between Brock and Garner would be very interesting. Yes, it would, because I think Garner, when you look at his skill set and you look at what he did in high school, I think he's a really, really good fit. And I'm glad Auburn picked him up. He's a really, really good fit for what the Auburn Tigers want to do offensively. Got that short to intermediate game working. He's also got good downfield accuracy as well. He's also a really comfortable quarterback, it looks like. He was able to get the ball out quickly and accurately, consistently on A-Day during his drive. A quarterback battle between those two, I think, would be a lot of fun. I think it would be a lot of fun. All right. I'm going to play a clip here. It's a chat between Zac Blackerby of the Locked on Auburn podcast and Blake Burkhalter, who is currently a pitcher for Auburn baseball, who's ranked inside the top 20 now. If any of you have been following along, just defeated Sanford. Really, really good pitching. I believe Auburn had 16, 17 strikeouts in that game as a whole. But this is a conversation between Zac and Blake Burkhalter. Let's go ahead and kick it to it.
Joining us now, Blake Burkhalter. I mean, you guys have been off to an incredible start to conference play. That's got to feel good going into this weekend when you guys travel to Mississippi State.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're really excited. We can feel the team start like linking together, and that's always good, especially this early on in conference play. So we're really excited to go into Mississippi State and kind of see what we can do there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just watching you guys, it seems like you're starting to kind of come together. It seems like you guys really enjoy each other's company. And I mean, was there a turning point this season where you guys kind of realized like, okay, we can really overachieve based on what everybody was saying about this team going into the season?
For sure. I mean, Ole Miss, honestly,
okay.
Once we beat them really bad the second day, we were like, I mean, we know we had the like potential to do it. We didn't come out the third day swinging like we were hoping to. We didn't come out with the pitching we were hoping to. But we all knew like, all right, we have a chance to do something big. Coming into the start of conference play, like I think we were ranked last, like out of the coaches poll, the SEC coaches poll had us like ranked last. So that kind of had a chip on our shoulder as well. So we were really fired up, and then we go into Texas A&M and beat them there, and that really got us going. So we're really excited for it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think what you guys have done so far has been really impressive, and obviously a long way to go. Right. I mean, several series left. I mean, you guys are still hungry, but what is it like to go on the road in the SEC? I mean, we hear from players and coaches, and I guess the results speak for themselves too, how hard it is to win on the road in the SEC. What about it makes it so difficult, Blake?
Just the atmosphere when you get into that ballpark. I mean,
yeah,
it's I mean, the fans are fired up to be there, and they don't want you there, and they made that well known.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole time you're down there in the bullpen, they got fans just sitting there just yelling at you the whole time, just trying to get in your head. I mean, some guys it works with, I really enjoy it. I don't know. It kind of gets my
I was about to ask, like, I think I would enjoy that too, just to kind of be in the middle of it all.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty funny, but like getting out on the mound and they start their chants, it's just exciting. Like the adrenaline starts going, and it's like, all right, this is what you're here for. Like, this is why you play in the SEC. So for crowds and atmospheres like this.
And when you're pitching, I mean, it's a high stake situation as far as, pitching late into a game. But when they start their chance and you strike somebody out, I mean, and they just kind of go quiet, there's got to be nothing better than that.
Oh yeah, just hushing the crowd. Hushing the crowd's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, anytime you can get in there and do the job, it's exciting. Right. It's exciting to help your team win the game. So
sure. What's the weirdest thing? Can you recall any weird things that people have yelled at you?
Yeah, some lady at LSU was like yelling. She was yelling my stats for this year, and I mean,
they're not bad.
I don't know. I thought it was weird. She was like yelling how many strikeouts I had and how many walks and all this, and I was just like, all right, like appreciate you telling me my stats. Like, this is good. So
yeah, no, I think
nothing too weird, but
yeah, no, I mean that's pretty weird. Why is she doing that? Blake, what's it been like playing, a D1 as a D1 athlete playing collegiate sports during this time of NIL? I mean, NIL Auburn has really changed the game for Auburn athletes. How has that impacted you?
It's been pretty big. Honestly, when NIL first came out, I didn't really know if I was going to get any kind of deals or anything. But then they reached out to me, and it's been really exciting. I've really enjoyed it. They've gotten with a lot of athletes. I got with a lot of the team, and all the teams pretty much enjoyed it. Like it's exciting. This is an exciting time for college sports. Yeah,
no doubt about it. And I think it's awesome for fans too to get more access or potential access to players. I think it's been great, and especially for baseball, I would imagine, just because the scholarship setup is so bad and ridiculous. So I mean, I think it's great that NIL Auburn is able to help you guys out with that as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're saying, I mean, pretty much like in years coming, this is pretty much going to be like another way for another scholarship or multiple scholarships for the team. So this is going to be big for baseball, especially.
Totally. Blake, how have you seen your game develop from last season to this season?
Definitely a lot more command. Last season I had trouble, I had a lot of walks. And over the summer I was really working on that, just like throwing strikes, because I mean that was the difference maker last season. And I worked on it a lot. I came in this fall and I was able to throw strikes a lot. Trying to just keep my walks down, honestly, just attacking the hitters. And that's really helped just get ahead of these hitters this year, and keep that ratio down a little bit, strikeouts to walks, and the cutter. Honestly, the cutter has been a big piece of my arsenal that I picked up this summer. Huddy was trying to help me out with it last spring, and I didn't throw it in game any. I didn't have a good feel for it. I worked on it. I went this summer and worked on it, and this fall it was consistent, and it's been helping me so far through the season. So really excited for that pitch.
So is most of that, as far as working on command and that ratio that you're talking about, is most of it the physical side of it? Or, I mean, I imagine as you become older as a player and get more experience, your preparation as far as, how to attack different batters and the research going into the game, I imagine that's an element of it too that helps.
Yeah, definitely had to adjust myself physically. So I had to change my stance a little bit when I came set on the mound. And honestly, it was just getting out there and throwing off the mound more. So it's tough for pitchers. You can't go out there every day and just literally just pound the zone. But I like to get off the mound every day and just get like 10 to 12 pitches, just working on command. And that's really helped improve it a lot.
Sure.
But then, yes, definitely mentally, just once you can see that the pieces starting to fall into place, it's the confidence that you can build off that. Once you know, like, yeah, I can command these pitches, then you can just go in there and have confidence that like you're going to get these guys out.
What's it like working with Tim Hudson? I mean, obviously an Auburn legend. I mean, an Atlanta legend as well. What is it like getting to work with him as much as you're able to?
Man, it's exciting. I grew up watching Tim Hudson. Like I would watch the Braves all the time, and whenever Tim Hudson came in, I was super excited. Like he was my favorite pitcher, and it's kind of, I mean, it's surreal. Like he's in the dugout every day. He's cracking jokes with us. He's fun. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves hanging out with him. Like he'll do anything for you. And he knows what he's talking about. Like he brings that mental aspect. He's been in the big leagues obviously for a long time, and he can kind of give us tips and pointers, and like he helps my pitch ability a lot more. He definitely helped progress it as I've been here, and I've gotten a lot better about that.
Sure. Blake, preview this Mississippi State series for us. I mean, obviously, we all know how strong of a baseball program it is, and they're the reigning national champions. What's it like going to Starkville to play a team like them?
Yeah, they're missing their big arm, Landon Sims, obviously. But other than that, I mean, they're still a pretty solid team. And it's going to be exciting. Starkville, that place goes crazy. Everybody's talking about how crazy it's been. I've never gone before, so it's going to be an exciting series to go to. But I mean, I definitely believe we can go in there and win that series, especially how we've been playing. We just got to go in there and pound the strike zone and keep the bats going. Timely hitting. Yeah, no, and you guys have been all over that. There's no question about it. Blake, thank you so much for your time, man. I know you're busy during the season, and you guys are going out of town soon. You got a game tonight when we're talking. So best of luck with everything happening this week, and hopefully I get to chat with you again soon. Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
All right, there you have it. Zac Blackerby's conversation with Blake Burkhalter. Auburn taking on Mississippi State later on this week. Going to be an exciting series between the Bulldogs and the Tigers. Lindsey Crosby, host of the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast, then also writer for Auburn Daily, is going to have a preview of that game up on auburndaily.com here soon. That's all I had for you guys today. Brock Glenn, some of his film notes, also ESPN's FPI, and then taking a look at some position grades for Auburn after the spring. If you're not already following us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter at @SI_Auburn. You can also follow us on Facebook at Auburn Daily. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Auburn Daily Show. I will see you all tomorrow for another edition of The Stream. Have a good day, everybody, and God bless.